Hi guys. Welcome. How are you? The Architect of Silence. Episode 4. The Pressure Cooker. Trapped in the dark. The darkness of the ventilation shaft was absolute, the air thick with dust and the metallic scent of old machinery. Elias and Chloe crawled forward, the sound of their frantic movement masked by the persistent clanging of the central HVAC system. Below them, they could hear the muffled, angry voices of the Thorne security team trying to breach the locked vault door. Chloe whispering, panicked, "They're going to get the maintenance key. We can't stay here, Elias. This duct leads straight to the exterior vent, but it's a long crawl." Elias, whispering, "We crawl. Slow, steady, and silent. If they hear us, they'll open the access panels and drop us straight into Arthur's lap." The forced physical intimacy of the confined space was overwhelming. They were pressed shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, their breathing heavy and shallow. 5 years of complex emotional history, betrayal, hate, love, and now shared terror, were compressed into a narrow, dark metal tube. Elias, internal monologue. 5 years. 5 years I spent planning to destroy her, and now my life depends on her being quiet and focused. And she is. The confession in the confines. After 10 agonizing minutes of crawling, the air grew cooler, indicating they were near the external exit point. They paused at a small juncture where a dim emergency light filtered through a vent. Who whispering, "Why did you come back, Elias? Why risk everything for a structural report?" Elias, "Because I won't let Marcus destroy my design twice. He stole the credit for the Azure Spire, but he can't be allowed to kill the people who live in it. This isn't just about revenge anymore, Chloe. It's about liability." "I know. He's reckless. That's why I stayed. Not for him, but to mitigate the damage. He was going to sell my marketing firm off to pay off his tax problems. I sold it myself and funneled the money into a separate, clean account, which is how I survived after you left. I was preparing my escape, not his defense." Elias, "And why did you let Sarah take the stage?" Chloe, "Arthur threatened my father's small shipping company. If I spoke out, they would have bankrupted him. I was trapped, Elias. I was silent. I'm not silent now." Her whispered confession hung in the dusty air. It wasn't the full, tearful apology he had rehearsed in his mind, but it was the truth he needed to hear. A rationale for the betrayal that allowed him to move past the anger and focus on their shared objective. Escape and evasion. They reached the final grate. Elias used a small, diamond-tipped cutter to silently slice the screws holding the grate in place. Below them was a dark, narrow alleyway, far from the main street. They dropped out, landing silently on the grimy pavement. Elias, "Go straight home, Chloe. Do not look back. If Marcus asks, you were home asleep. He can't trace us here." Chloe, "I won't call you. I know the rules. But what's the next move? You have the structural proof." Elias, "The structural proof is the distraction. The financial fraud is the kill shot. Marcus's biggest fear is losing his inheritance. We need to tie the structural weakness of the Azure Spire to the illegality of his offshore tax scheme. We tie a safety violation to massive fraud, and the government takes the entire company." Chloe nodded, her eyes bright with a dangerous excitement. "I'll feed you the access codes for the quarterly financial projections. They'll be inflated, which proves his intent to deceive investors." They parted ways without a handshake or a glance backward, two ghosts disappearing into the city night. The architect's new design, cliffhanger. The next morning, Elias was back at the Olympus Tower site, impeccably dressed and intensely professional. The tension in the Thorne office was palpable. Arthur was livid about the vault intrusion, and Marcus was paranoid. ordering a complete overhaul of the security system. Marcus confronted Elias immediately. Marcus, furious, eyes narrowed. Security was breached last night. Do you know anything about that, Elias? Did your Ascendant team run any unauthorized diagnostic tests? Elias, calmly. Marcus, my team requires 3 days' notice for any on-site tests. And if you have a security breach in your vault, you have bigger problems than my diagnostics. Perhaps you should look at your own employees, not your partners. Marcus stared at him, unable to shake the suspicion, but without a shred of evidence. Later that afternoon, Elias sent an encrypted file containing the original structural compromise report to an anonymous email account he had set up, the regulatory watchdog. He attached a single anonymous note. The foundation of the Azure Spire is failing. Check the source of the cost cuts. The offshore consultancy fees that funded it. Elias had just linked the structural lie to the financial fraud. The bomb was primed. He looked at his design software, feeling a grim satisfaction. He wasn't just building towers anymore. He was designing a collapse. Sage. Elias types a new line of code into his software, creating a hidden proprietary digital flaw in the Olympus Tower security system. A permanent backdoor. He realizes the only way to truly win is to make Marcus feel the complete, utter vulnerability of losing control. He has planted the seeds of the internal split, and now the harvest begins. The cost of silence. The audit heat. The heat from the internal audit, now focused on the offshore consultancy fees, was becoming unbearable for Marcus. Arthur was breathing down his neck, demanding daily updates and publicly questioning Marcus's competence in executive meetings. Elias, still playing the professional, observed the chaos with surgical detachment. He knew Marcus would try to externalize the blame and silence the key witnesses. The first person Marcus targeted was Ben, the low-level engineer who had helped Elias initially by confirming the audit focus. Ben messaged Elias, panicked. Ben, text Marcus is making me take a leave of absence. He told me I'm the target of the leak. He's going to fire me to cover his tracks. Elias couldn't allow his ally to be destroyed. It was a matter of moral obligation, but more importantly, a matter of maintaining his leverage. A fired, disgruntled employee is a loud, unreliable asset. A protected, quiet employee is a future source of data. Elias, text don't resign. Don't speak to anyone but your personal lawyer. I will send you a pre-signed contract from Ascendant Group for consultancy work at double your salary. Take the severance from Thorne, then start working for me. You are officially protected. Elias made a necessary detour. He spent $50,000 of his personal funds to bring Ben under his firm's wing. A small investment to secure a crucial asset. The double-sided proposal. The core of Elias's financial revenge relied on exploiting the massive penalties written into the Thorne Group's supply contracts. Marcus, in his rush to lock down cheap suppliers for the Olympus Tower, had waived key safety and delivery clauses. Elias, using the authority of Ascendant's lead architect, called a meeting with the Thorne Group's primary structural steel supplier, Titan Metals. Elias, to Titan CO, we need to discuss the penalty clauses in your Olympus Tower contract. They are alarmingly low. If you miss a delivery date due to Marcus Thorne's rush timeline, the cost to us will be crippling. Titan CO, slightly nervous, Mr. Thorne. Those were Marcus's terms. He wanted the low price. We gave him the low penalty for flexibility. Elias, I'm offering you a trade. I will personally guarantee your contract schedule will not be held liable for any delays caused by the Thorne Group's internal financial audits. In exchange, I need you to quietly adjust one number in your projected delivery schedule. pushed the final steel shipment back by precisely 2 days. The CEO was confused but intrigued. 2 days? Why? Elias. 2 days is all I need. That 2-day delay will trigger the massive escalation clause in the main Olympus financing agreement, a clause that Marcus and Arthur overlooked. It's a penalty that will wipe out the Thorne Group's liquidity buffer. You get protection. I get a stable timeline. The CEO agreed. The structural penalty was now a financial weapon aimed directly at the Thorne Group's heart, the fragile trust. Elias received a message from Chloe, the first direct contact since the vault escape. Code text: I need to see you. The tension here is unbearable. Marcus is drinking heavily, and Arthur is preparing to remove him from the board. Meet me at the old lighthouse overlook. Elias knew better than to ignore a panic signal. He drove to the remote, windswept overlook. Chloe was waiting, her face etched with exhaustion and fear. It's worse than I thought. Marcus isn't just trying to cover his tracks. He's trying to frame Arthur for the initial Azure Spire fraud. He's deleting files related to Arthur's involvement in the initial cost-cutting. Elias. Why would he destroy his father? Because if Arthur is disgraced, Marcus gets control of the entire estate immediately. He's cutting his losses. He's ruthless, Elias. He's taking down his own blood. Elias realized the true scale of the fight. It wasn't just against Marcus. It was a civil war within the Thorne Group, and Elias was providing the ammunition to both sides. Elias. I have the original structural report. Marcus is looking for it. I need you to tell me exactly where the Thorne family keeps their most sensitive, personal records, the documents Arthur would use to expose Marcus. Chloe hesitated, looking out over the dark water. You're asking me to give you the key to their private lives, Elias. That's the point of no return. Elias. We passed the point of no return the night you let him call me a doormat. Tell me, Chloe. There is a digital vault. It's not in the office. It's in Marcus's private penthouse. An old physical server disguised as a wine cooler. The key is in his desk at home. The sibling showdown, cliffhanger. Elias returned to his office late, mentally exhausted but energized by the new threat. He found Sarah waiting for him, seated on his sofa, radiating cold fury. Sarah. I knew it was you. The offshore audit, Ben's sudden severance. You're systematically dismantling this company from the inside, Elias. What you're doing is criminal. Elias. What Marcus is doing is criminal, Sarah. I'm just providing the evidence. Is that why you came here? To protect the man who stole my life. Sarah. I came here because you are still my family, Elias. And I won't let you destroy me just to get back at Marcus. I'm telling you this once. Stop. Look away. I'll make sure you get a better payout. Elias walked right up to her, his face inches from hers, his voice tight with controlled venom. Elias. You let them call you the architect of my work. You stood there smiling while they called me stagnant. You chose the throne over your own brother. You are part of the betrayal, Sarah. And if the Thorne dynasty falls, you will fall with it. Sarah stood up, her hand shaking as she pointed toward his office door. Get out of here. I don't ever want to see you again. You're a cancer. Such. Elias just stares at her, his expression utterly devoid of emotion, and walks past her to his desk. He opens his briefcase and extracts the original, damning structural report. He slides it across the table. Sarah's eyes widen as she reads the title. Azure Spire Structural Failure Analysis. Elias has just handed his sister the truth about the throne she sits on.